Hey guys, welcome to Surf and Show. I'm Noel Salas, and today's surfboard review is on the Happy by Channel Island Surfboards. Now the Happy is a high-performance shortboard. I have two customs here. I have a squash tail in the Spinetek construction, then I have a swallowtail on the polyurethane board. Both these boards are the exact same dimensions, and we spent the entire summer putting both these boards through the paces in different conditions. We've got some good sized surf with some wind and texture so we can see the difference between the PU and EPS and how they settle down in the water. And then we took the Spinetek to BSR Surf Ranch and surfed it in the pool. So I had a blast on both these boards. I think you guys are going to really like this review. So get your favorite drink, sit back, and enjoy the show. Now I mentioned both these boards are custom. Looking at the CI website, if I were to buy the Happy stock in a shop, it would put me in the 5'10", right? These are both 5'7" by 18 7/8 by 2 5/16, coming in at 25.5 liters. I'm 5'9" and 160 pounds. And the reason I don't like to ride a longer board, because where I surf, I want the board to fit in the pocket and I don't want to feel the length of the board on my turns. A longer board just feels a little bit more delayed for me. So I can go 5'9" or even 5'7", and I find myself grabbing a high-performance shortboard and riding it more often, even if it's like 2 to 3 foot surf. Why? Because it's fitting a 5'7" in a 2 to 3 foot pocket. Now, when would I want a longer board like a stock 5'10"? It would really matter on where I surfed every day. So if I was surfing heavy beach break, I might want a little extra rail line so I can drive off the bottom. Right? I think sometimes people are confused and they think that a longer board is going to offer you better paddling. This is all about liters of volume in foam and the way they distribute that foam and the rocker. Now, with it being a little bit lower medium up here, I did feel like the Happy paddled good. And one of the things that I think is really important for me is I always want to match the rocker and the board with the wave that I'm surfing. So if a wave's got a lot of curve, let's get on a board that has some curve in it. There's an appropriate time for me to ride a high-performance shortboard, and there's a time for me to step down into a daily driver or a small wave performance board or even a groveler. Now I mentioned rocker. Instead of really going into the attributes of the Happy, head over to CI's website, check out the video they made with Brett Merrick. He does all the attributes real well, talking about creating the Happy with Zeke Lau and getting feedback from the team members. For me, I really want this review to be, how did it feel under my feet? How did we dial it in? I like the black and white and the fever, so we've got a few high-performance shortboards to choose from when we go to the CI website, and how do we narrow down the right high-performance shortboard for you? Now, I mentioned the black and white, and the attributes on the black and white that are a little bit different that make a big difference from my perspective is Dane likes a flat deck with a full rail. He wants to feel that flex underfoot, and it has a lower entry rocker than both the Fever and the Happy. What is that going to do? Well, right off the bat, it's going to have more speed and get up and go down the line, which I really like in like a point break type wave. So a wave like Rincon, it's going to go real fast, and it has a medium exit rocker, so you're still going to have that traction and get your turn out of the black and white. Now the Fever's got a little bit more rocker than both, right? And for me, I felt like the Fever, even in my groveler dims, I went 5'7", 19, I think 2 5/16, and I rode it in some 2 to 3 foot surf, and I was surprised at how well that board handled in smaller waves, even though it had continuous rocker. It had good speed, and I had lots of traction because of the curve in the board. Now we're talking about the Happy. It's somewhere in between the black and white. This has a little bit more, and then a little bit less than the Fever. So for me, it still had that get up and go speed. The very first wave I got, where it actually made the cut for the video, I'm flying down the line on the PU, and then I hit this big section and the board had traction and I was able to pull a turn. So the Happy's got great down the line speed and a little bit more foam pushed up under the chest area here, so it's a little bit more stable under the front foot compared to the Fever. Now the reason I'm talking about these three boards is because I like them all a bunch, And I really feel like if you're looking to buy a high performance shortboard, these are some of the things that you'll need to know for buying the board yourself. Now let's say I'm surfing some really hollow beach break. You're gonna want that curve in the board, right? And with the Happy having an extreme or a lot of exit rocker, that's gonna give me more traction. When I get into a wave that's super hollow, or even if I get into a bigger wave, let's say it's a foot overhead and I have a lot of speed, this rocker in this board is going to give me the traction off the bottom and the stability I'm looking for to hit the turns I want to hit. So I want to start by breaking down the Spinetek Happy and how it felt under my feet and kind of how it all started. We knew we were going to BSR Surf Resort and I wanted to have the Happy in Spinetek for the pool. I want that pop, and I also want that projection that EPS offers me in and out of turns. I also wanted to ride it in the ocean since it's at the smaller or the shorter dimensions at 5'7". Putting this board through the paces in 2 to 3 foot surf, I think it's fun to have it in EPS to see how it goes. So where do I start? Well, a staple for me in CI boards is the AM2. Large fin. Even though I'm 160 pounds, I'm looking to maximize drive. And I like a fin that has a lot of rake in boards that have continuous rocker, right? What happens for me with boards that have continuous rocker, they're not gonna have as much drive, but they're gonna have a lot of traction. So I like to maybe enhance drive by getting a fin with a bigger base. So that's why I always start with the AM2 or a fin with a lot of rake on a high performance shortboard. I started with this fin and it just didn't feel right. It didn't matter if it was, 2 to 3 foot or if it was 5 to 6 foot. The large fin just created too much lift and I couldn't get the rail to settle down. So I quickly switched to the AM1, went to a medium fin. And that's when this board started to come alive. And I remember that happening on the black and white. As soon as I got into some bigger surf, let's tone it down. I'm not working for speed on bigger waves. I'm looking for control. Since the AM1 is honeycomb and it comes in middle of the ride number, it's given me control and consistency in my turns. So it makes perfectly good sense. As the waves get bigger, from my weight at 160, I step down in fin size, a little bit less speed so I can pick my turns and hit it with consistency. And because the Happy has a good amount of exit rocker, it was a good combination that when I was in some choppy surf or surf with texture or bump to it, this medium fin in conjunction with the rocker, it gave me all the traction I needed to hold the rail until the turn was done. So now I want to talk about the PU in Swallowtail with the FCS2 plugs. For me, as we got bigger surf, I really felt like the PU separated itself from the Spinetek. I know the weight's different. I always talk about PU having better consistency or that weight. When the waves get bigger, it's not about light, quick, and snappy. It's about control. It's about taking the speed, having confidence in your turns, and even when the waves got big and they had like maybe a west swell in it, so it was kind of wonky, or it had a lot of texture on it, this was the board I kept grabbing for. I felt like this board set itself apart in the bigger surf, and for me, I recommend the Happy in PU for guys that are choosing a high performance shortboard and you want maximum performance in bigger waves. So where I started fin wise, I went back to a large fin. I just thought maybe it was the lightweight EPS that was being a little bit too quirky, right? Because I talk about that a lot. But I tried Mick Fanning fin, which offers a lot of hold. This is large, and the waves were well overhead this day. And I'll tell you, it felt horrible with these fins in it. Now, I like the Mick Fanning fin. I'm not picking on the fin. I'm talking about the fin and the board combination. Fins make a board. That's why we spend so much time on it. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't try the large and the medium. We would just have one fins and we'd make it work and we'd have mediocre reviews. But I really believe that you find the right fin for the right board, and that's how you take a board from good to great and even sometimes magic. So where did I end up? Just like you would think, I ended up on the medium Almeric fin. This felt the best, and it didn't matter how big the waves were. I pushed it, and this board offered great hold and great traction. So let's compare notes, Spinetek versus PU in some bumpy average surf. Still doing some good turns. You can see waves going flat, the board's bouncing around everywhere. It's carrying good speed, but I don't have great control over it. Here's a bigger wave. Look at the board all over the place. Hit a good turn, but watch the bottom turn. Adjusting, and I fall there. Just not having that stability with the EPS. It's feeling a little quirky, a little bit out of control, but it still has good pop. You see that right there? Let's look at the PU now. Nice little turn, nothing special, right? Wave goes flat, you can see more control. Board looks better underfoot, even though it's a subpar wave. Look at the chunk in the lip right there. Buried that inside rail, and it gave me good traction. Coming off the bottom, nice and vertical. Happy carrying good speed in this flat section. But you can see the PU's not all over the place. I'm in control, and I feel like I'm surfing it way better. So let's look at some good waves. The Happy is fast down the line. Hitting this turn with confidence, hitting that rail right there, being able to pop back up, that felt good. Coming off the bottom, throwing good spray. I got kind of hung up right into a bottom turn. Nice, throwing the tail just a little bit. That felt good. You can see the Spinetek. It's a little bit quicker, a little bit more lively, but it looks harder to control for me. Now this left, coming off the bottom, pushing both legs straight right there. High performance shortboards really offer good traction off the bottom, and you can really work on your power surfing. We love to have other surfers join us for reviews. Check out what Magnum Martinez and Julian Ganguly have to say about the Happy. Yeah, so I got Magnum Martinez here. He's been joining us for some reviews. He comes down from Puerto Rico for the summertime. And Magnum's got himself a Happy. So how's it going for you?
It's going well. Stoked to be back, thanks for having me again. And yeah, I got this board, has quite a bit of rocker, and it's for, it's meant to be for good waves. So I will say it's not the ideal conditions for it, but I was surprised that as soon as the wave gets a little steep, doesn't matter what size it is, the board feels really good. It's really solid. You can push really hard on it, and it really holds the rail and actually releases too off the top. So I'm kind of pleasantly surprised on it, like for the size of the wave.
Sure. So tell us about the fin setup that you got going right
Yeah.
there.
So I got the neutral
F6.
the F6, the Legacy series from Futures. And then I figured that, if I put this little black stick Almeric fin, the trailer fin smaller on the Almeric template, so it loosened it up, and that's really good. So I'm stoked. I've been riding this new Legacy, the F6, and the, on the, what's the name of that other?
The Beta 2.0.
The Beta.
Yeah.
So, and the R6 too.
Right.
And if they all feel really good, they have good flex too. So I'm stoked on the feedback. Yeah.
Epic. Well, Magnum, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Always fun to have you part of it.
Hi everyone, my name's Julian Ganguly. I'm 34 years old, live in Southern California, and been surfing for about 20 years. This last summer, I've spent a lot of time in the water with Noel, surfing some of our local point breaks, and he asked if I'd be interested in coming on the show and giving my 2 cents about the Channel Islands Happy model. I surfed 2 Happies with different constructions, the first with Spinetek and the other with the more traditional PU construction. Both boards have the same dimensions, which are 5'4", 17¾ by 2 1/8 in thickness, both squash tails, and the same volume, which was, I believe, is 20.8 liters. As far as the constructions go, in the point break waves, I gravitated more towards the Spinetek construction. It felt a little more lively. It was a little faster as far as reaction time goes, and a little bit lighter. And those factors really helped the board perform better in those types of waves. In the bigger beach break waves, I used the polyurethane model mostly. I like the extra added weight of the board, especially with winds being predominantly offshore all day, and in the barrel. I was able to kind of glide over foamy sections and carry momentum through the tube. The Happy was pretty loose when I first got on it, so something I wasn't really used to with some of the other models I was riding. It felt real sensitive, and so I ended up playing with the fin setups. I started with the Performer fin in a medium template, and then went to the Julian Wilson fin, and again a medium template, and then the Accelerator was the fin that I found worked the best for me. This fin had a little more surface area than, say, the Performer, and it helped kind of settle the board down a little bit and give it a little extra speed that I was looking for through the flat sections.
Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's review on the Happy. After putting both boards through the paces in 3-foot surf and bigger, I like the PU best. Now I highly recommend the Happy for the upper end intermediate all the way to the pro level. If you're an intermediate surfer, I recommend something a little bit more user-friendly like the OG Flyer. Well, that's it for today. Special shout out thanks to CI for sending these two boards down for review. Hey, if you like the show, subscribe. You can also find us at surfandshow.com. That's it for now. Until next time, see you in the water. Bye-bye.